All right, thank you so much for staying with business today. And now we are getting to another conversation where we are looking at e-waste management. And joining us is Charles Lange, who is the Deputy Director, Environmental Planning and Research Coordination at NEMA. And we are going to be discussing with him about e-waste management. We are also going to be looking at what is e-waste. Thank you so much for joining us on business today.
Thank you.
All right, now when you talk about e-waste, explain to us what this is all about.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for bringing me to the studios for this very important subject. E-waste is one of the very much emerging discussions across the world and even in Kenya here. And basically, because it takes different definitions, and one of the most popular one is the electrical and the electronic equipment that reach the end life and then they are discarded.
So like this is just
the computers,
okay, continue explaining.
All phones, fridges, and any other electrical appliance that you can use from one time to another, and then when they reach their end life, then they get discarded, then they become e-waste or electrical and electronic waste. Thank you.
All right, and now all this that you've explained, now they're becoming an environmental hazard.
Exactly.
And now you being in NEMA and also coordinating all this, looking at the planning and research coordination at NEMA, also looking at the environment. When you look at such equipments, which they've reached their end life and they're supposed to be discarded somewhere, in terms of us managing them as Kenyans, what are we doing? Are we at the right path? And even if it's managing them, where can they be taken?
Thank you very much. I think, as I say, the debate is very live now, and largely because of the increasing awareness about what is it that this waste can bring to and can have implications on the lives of the people and the environment. Indeed, let me say that these devices or appliances that we're talking about, over the years, out of interest, we started to see exponential growth in the generation of this waste. There are numbers that have been given from the previous reports, which is just a very rough estimates that we are having. And further research has gone into this. I coming from research side of the space, and it's been found that these gadgets, they're built of components. When they reach at some parts of their life, then they are capable of emitting some substances that can harm the environment and also consequently harm the lives of the people. For instance, let me say that our culture is commonly here that when we have these devices, they reach the end of their life and we discard them. We have not got the practice of segregating them and taking them to proper management. So they end up mixing up with the general solid waste, and they end up in our open dump site where they get the open burning. And when they get the open burning, the substance that they emit through the smoke that comes from the open burning, then when you inhale that, because it contains some gaseous substances that implications on human health and environment, then you are likely to see then they may affect the lives of our people. So consequently, also the leachate that come from there, because there's some liquid that comes from dump sites. They contain some of the compounds that when they flow, then they enter into the waterways, then they may affect our environment. So this is the awareness that is coming through, and so the need now and the alertness to try and install sustainable management of this e-waste for the benefit of the people and their environment.
All right. And now, even as you've explained this, because you've seen now they get to the soil, they get to the water. When you look at all this, what amount of e-waste do we collect and recycle even annually as a country?
Yes, as I said, there are statistics that are being flashed here and there about how much we generate and how much we are able to bring back into circular economy or recycling. First of all, I want to say that you will see a figure of about 50,000 plus tons of e-waste generated in the country annually. But we have already also ourselves, because we have a big player in this space, we have also commissioned our own study to try and now get what it could be the most best data that we have in place. We have seen that we could be generating a double of that amount. And now we also have tried to see what is it that is likely being collected back and going to recycling. It's just like a drop in the ocean, because we are getting figures less than 1% is what's likely being put into proper management through bringing back to recycling. So these are worrying trends, generating those tons and then getting 1 or even less than 1% going back to proper management in recycling. Thank you.
Even as you've mentioned about these numbers, looking at the percentages and saying that it could even be double that number that is being just flashed around. What are some of the challenges when it comes to managing this e-waste, this e-waste that is making it even difficult for us to reduce the numbers?
Yes, I want to start by saying that our culture, largely the solid waste that we have around, is that we have failed to get a culture of waste segregation at source. Because if we are to go through proper management of solid waste, particularly this e-waste, we have to start a culture of segregation at source, whereby if it's households, if you have your electrical and equipment reach their head life, then you have a special place that you are going to place them, so that from there, then they can be picked up by the industry that is practicing recycling. Because if you mix up this with the general solid waste, then you interrupt the material, and then they become material that may not be fetched as much value as when it is material that is coming, is segregated at source. So I think the most critical thing that we need to do as a country is to start the culture of segregation at source, so that we can keep these materials at their source, so that the people who have the expertise and the ability to undertake recycling and proper management can have easy time on how they can do about this. And then we also need to continue doing a lot of research, so that we can discover new approaches on how we can put this e-waste into a proper use. And so those are the starting points. But then, of course, because we believe we have quite good legal frameworks that can support this, some of them are still on the making. But I think starting with the basics and having people also catch this, so that at least they can be able to practice sound management of this e-waste, will be a good beginning to move the agenda forward. Thank you.
Now, let us look at awareness. When it comes to awareness, are we aware of actually how to even manage this? And now, from where you sit and from your position in NEMA, what is it that is being done in order for Kenyans at least to have an awareness of this? Because someone might be using a fridge at home, it has reached its end life, and then they just put it in the store. Exactly. And then it stays there, and then maybe just it's used as even a storage for other things. So therefore, are we as Kenyans aware of how to manage e-waste?
Let me say that there's something happening, and I think ourselves, in collaboration with stakeholders, we have been doing quite a lot to try and bring Kenyans to speed with the sound management of the e-wastes. There are many programs that have been taken over the years in collaboration with partners such as Safaricom, WeSender, and many others that we work jointly together with in this space. So for now, the awareness may not be that much, but I think there's quite a number of critical mass of Kenyans who know something about the issues to deal with the e-waste. What we just need to do is to continue with the game and have the game, so that we can reach out to most of the corners of the country. Because this is, as I said, is something that we are saying is growing exponentially. And if you see it's growing exponentially, then we also need to have the game, so that we can continue working with Kenyans across the space, so ensure that most of them are doing the right thing in sustainable management of e-waste. So NEMA, we are really in the space, working in collaboration with stakeholders to try and see that really the awareness is high and Kenyans can do the right thing, so that we can rescue our Kenyans from the impacts of unsound management of e-waste in the country. Yes.
All right, now let's look at the waste. And separation of even waste, because when you have waste in your house or anywhere else that you're disposing to, there's supposed to be separation. So is our electronic gadgets that have reached their end life supposed to just be disposed with the others? And if there's separation, are there outlets that you have outside, maybe in the estates, that maybe explain and say, okay, if you have a TV that is old, you need to put it here. If you have a phone that is old, you need to put it here. So explain to us even about the separation of waste.
Yes. I know this is one of the most critical questions that is coming all the time among Kenyans. Where is it that we can take our e-waste so that we can now participate in the sustainable management of the e-waste? Quite a number of stakeholders here in the country are doing this, largely the private sectors. I mentioned something, a WeSender. There are some collection centers across the country. Safaricom has also, sometimes back, they started these initiatives, particularly targeting the products that are associated with them. And those were very good attempts to try and really assist Kenyans to try and practice this sound management of e-waste. NEMA, on our space, we have a program that we have started to roll out, where we are also going to come into the space to try and also avail some of the collection centers, particularly starting with the major cities in the country, and then eventually bring up a demonstration pilot in concert sometimes the next year, which will also add into the space the sustainable management of e-waste through recycling and practicing circular economy. So this is something that we are alive to, and we're going to work closely with the stakeholders so that we can manage this waste that we think is growing to be a big challenge in the country. Yes, thank you. Even
as you speak about recycling, because you've mentioned recycling, and let us look at some of the byproducts that come from this, because someone might say, okay, if we collect them and take them there, what are they going to help make? So let us look at some of the byproducts of the e-waste that is put in these different centers, or it is put in these different areas that are being put by maybe stakeholders and different private sectors.
Yes, let me say that actually e-waste is turning out to be a multi-billion-dollar industry because of many new discoveries that are coming in space. Many of these gadgets are made up of very important precious metals, gold, platinum, and others. And so there is a practice that is going on that in the space of sustainable management of environment, there's an encouragement towards going for recycled materials rather than virgin material. And there's a lot of studies that have been done, the benefit of doing that. So in the recycling space, there is harvesting of precious metals, which is a very important industry there. Secondly, there is a lot of other practitioners who are doing the general refurbishments. You just get the gadgets and then they do the refurbishment, and rather than putting these things into the dump sites where they are going to face open burning, then they come back to use. And so you will see if a laptop that has been upgraded or a phone has slightly been upgraded. So in that space, then you see a product start to emerge. If you go to some of the other incubation centers, you find some new young people who are starting to come out with lighting equipment just manufactured from parts that have been disassembled from the electronics or e-waste. And so there is a lot of innovation that is coming out through. So we just need to try and support those initiatives that are coming across the country, so that at least these products can continue to grow, and I can believe then we are going to advance sound management of e-waste in this country.
All right, and even as you've spoken about the initiatives that are there maybe to address this, let's look at Kenyans who collect waste in estates within Nairobi, within even other towns. As NEMA, what are you doing in order to support them? And also, are they being sensitized when it comes to waste? They're told, okay, this is how you segment, this is how you separate the waste, or what is NEMA really doing in order for them to be guided on how to collect the waste?
As I said, we start by sensitizing Kenyans, and that first of all, you do not need to put this waste in with the general waste, because that is the beginning point. If we have to really bring business into this concept, and so that's very critical, and we are doing very hard, working very hard to ensure this goes to the space as much as possible. Then in this same space, as a leader in supervision and coordination of matters environment, we've come up and we're coming up with more of the legal frameworks that facilitates this process to happen. So in this space, if you go and check on some of the relevant legal frameworks, then you realize that we are moving towards actualizing circular economy, because this is the concept that is growing across the country. And so when that is in the legal frameworks, then it makes it easy for the stakeholders to practice this with ease. And secondly, of course, we also, as some part, encourage through awards. If we get some innovations that are quite interesting, an environmental award is given to some of the best innovators in this space.
Okay.
So these are things that we are trying to practice to ensure that we motivate stakeholders in this space.
So the collectors are actually, they undergo some kind of training in order for them to understand?
Yes, we have training parts, sometimes through the sensitization and just inductions to try and see that they can also understand what is coming up in the space. Yes. Yeah.
All right. And now let's also look at the economic opportunities associated with recycling and also circular economy. You've mentioned circular economy a lot. So what are some of the economic opportunities that are there?
Yes, as I said, the circular economy is a new model that's coming across the world, and Kenya, we are actually alive to it. And as I said, in order to put this in space, we have some legal frameworks that are coming in space that very much stress about circular economy. So some of the economic potentials that we're talking about here, as I said, is having these facilities or this waste being source of raw materials. Because as I said, there's precious metals and many parts that can be used for other electronics that need raw materials. And so there's quite a number of studies that have been done, in fact, saying that practicing circular economy offsets some of the greenhouse gas emissions. So there's quite a lot of that value chain development and protection of environment. So there's a lot of that is untapped in this space in terms of economic potential, collecting or harvesting through urban mining the precious metals and also raw materials, and even just the refurbishments. There is a lot that many stakeholders can come into the space and create green jobs. So this is something that we are alive to. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And now, even as we are now getting to a close of the conversation, what are you doing in order to sensitize companies who throw the e-waste, for example, the cables, the old computers, just on the back, on the back side of the company, you find maybe the unused land that is there. They're just throwing it there. So what are you sensitizing these companies, and are companies also being sensitized on this? And also even close to the river sources?
Yes, it did. As I said, the beginning point is, of course, this awareness, so that they know whatever they are doing may not be for the benefit of the people of Kenya and for the benefit of the environment. So that's the beginning point. And more so than also try to bring in this circular economy approach, just to ensure that they start to understand that the things that they are holding at their backyard may be a source of raw material for another industry. And so also to try and see how we connect them with the other industry that are practicing that. In the space, I say there are companies or there are private sectors who are doing e-waste recycling in the country, and they are here with us in the country. So we partner with those private sector initiatives, so that they can also be able to reach out to these industries to know that whatever is being held at their backyard, they do not need to put it somewhere where it's going to harm the environment, but they can just connect with them and they can take up that and practice circular economy with those practices. So this is something that's happening, and as I said, we also have an upcoming legal frameworks that are also going to support those kind of initiatives. Thank you very much.
All right, finally, as we close, of course, you're coming to us from NEMA. So what are some of the policies that that are coming or are being put in place in order for you to make sure that waste is managed properly, and also e-waste management is taken care of properly, even as we close?
Thank you very much. There's quite a lot in the space. There's the Environmental Management and Coordination Act of 1999, which also is a space. We have the Waste Management Regulation 2006, which is undergoing review. And then we have a law that regulation that is going to be dedicated on e-waste, which we are calling draft e-waste regulations.
Yes.
So when this comes into space, then we are going to see a lot of sound management of e-waste across the country. So we as an authority, in addition to awareness, research, we are also providing for legal frameworks to support this process so that we can a country that is a center of excellence in the practice of sound management of e-waste in Kenya, Africa, and the global. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for joining us on Business Today and giving us your insights. That's it from us. That is Charles Lange from NEMA. He is just in charge of environment and also planning, and also he's been talking to us about e-waste management and what you need to do. That cable that is old, that computer, that phone, you need to get in touch and know where to put it and where to dispose it. We've come to the end of this conversation and this edition of Business Today. My name is Kelvin Nyakundi. Stick around. Mbiu KTN is coming up next.